everyone. Welcome to the Inspire Summit 2019. I'm your host, Nizi Alvarez, and today I'm so happy to be joined by Megan Fenyoe. Megan is a veteran licensed clinical social worker, a transformational mindset coach, a best-selling author, a professional speaker, and the host of the Blonde Bombshell podcast. She's a contributing writer for Thrive Global and owns her own health food franchise through the Juice Plus company. Being a mental health therapist for over 15 years, as well as a transformational mindset coach, Megan transforms her clients' negative self-talk into positive self-empowerment through helping them believe that they are enough. She's also been featured in multiple shows, including the Jenny McCarthy Show, TV and radio shows, multiple podcasts, as well as various magazines. Megan is a #1 best-selling author who recently published her book entitled Youre Enough: The 5 Steps to Move from Struggle to Strength. So, welcome to the summit, Megan. It's an honor to have you in the show.
Thank you so much for having me. I love that we're doing this like international, because I'm in San Diego and like you're all the way across the world. So this is awesome.
That's the thrill of the summit. So, how's your 2019 going so far?
It is going phenomenal. And I cannot believe that it's, February already, but it is going so well.
That's so great to hear. Now, a lot of people have been struggling with adapting the right mindset and staying positive, especially when faced with challenges. But this is something that you're already an expert in, Megan. Now tell me, what got you started on this journey? What's your background? And here in the summit, I call it, what's your super speaker story?
Oh, goodness. I love that. Well, I recently published my book. I have it right here because I like to show it because I love my cover.
Yes.
And the book shares my story of being in a narcissistic abusive marriage. So I share that struggle and the fact that I left quote unquote corporate America a year and a half ago to pursue my dream of being an entrepreneur, and the struggle that goes along with that as well. Making a ton of money to going and not making a lot of money and having to rearrange your schedule, all while going through this abusive relationship and, basically being at the bottom of the bottom emotionally and physically and, just believing that I wasn't enough. And so the book and my journey just really shares that process and the 5 steps that I talk about, when I speak all over the country and in my book are steps that I actually went through when I left the relationship. So it's very powerful. My book is like my saving grace. And so it's awesome to be able to go around the country and share my story and also give hope and inspire, women all around the country, the world, to really work these steps to believe that they're enough.
Mm-hmm. That's great to hear. I would say that your book cover is really nice. And
I know I absolutely love it. So lotus flowers is my thing. Yeah. And I have one like tattooed on my back, and then I have I am enough tattooed right here with a lotus flower. So I just love what the lotus flower represents. So my cover designer did an amazing job on it.
Yeah, she did. And you also had a lot of insights on that book, which you'll be discussing in a bit. Now, you mentioned that you've been working in the corporate world and it was like a mental health therapist and mindset coach for over 15 years. Now, tell us, what made you decide to leave such a high-paying job and do what you're doing right now? I mean, how is also the transition like from having this corporate job and going into writing and public speaking? How was it like?
So yes, I've been a licensed mental health therapist for a little over 16 years. And I was an officer in the Air Force and provided mental health treatment to active duty members. I left service 2015 and started working in a hospital. But at that time, I had also started my health food franchise business. It's a network marketing business called Juice Plus. And I was seeing people who were working this business and who completely had control of their life. Like this was what they did, and they worked from home, and I wanted that. And I had this nudging feeling that I was meant to do more, but because I was stuck in this traumatic relationship, I stuffed that down. And it wasn't until I moved to San Diego 2 years ago did I really start visualizing this life. You know, I was in the process of slowly moving away from this abusive marriage and started visualizing what I wanted. And so, you know, I was making six figures as a therapist in a hospital. And, you know, I left that a year and a half ago. And I have a private mental health practice. And so that helps. But I'm in control of life, my schedule, everything I do. I work from home, you know, and I started writing my book in February, so a year ago, when I actually left the relationship. I have not talked to him in over a year. And it was always on my bucket list to write a book by the time I was 40. And I think I'll be 40 this year, but last year, I think it just was on my heart. And that nudging feeling that I had suppressed for so long was owning my own schedule and writing this book. And so I just started writing in February, and it was part of my journey of releasing my trauma and letting go of that story that I was allowing myself to say to my, you know, like the fact that I wasn't good enough. And so I wrote the book and finished it in May and then published it in August.
Wow.
I had no idea that I had done speaking engagements before on mental health and my health food franchise, but I never expected to have this new vision of speaking on big stages all over the country. And when I started writing the book and getting on a lot of podcasts, and then when the book was launched, doing all of these interviews, I started visualizing this life of traveling and you know, sharing my story. And so the book was launched in August, and since then it's just kind of been a whirlwind. I mean, there's been rough times. You know, I'm not going to sit here and say that it's been easy financially. It's been a struggle. But for me, I could easily go back and get a six-figure job working 40 hours a week, but it wouldn't be my passion. And so financially, I'm okay with the struggle because I'm owning my life and I'm doing things that make me happy. Like I like getting up in the morning, you know, and it's so important. So that's kind of my journey. It's a really long story, but there's a lot more to it, but that's kind of the gist of it.
That's cool because I could relate. I've also been a corporate manager for the past years, and then I just felt that it was too much pressure, and I felt like I was being dragged every day to work without really thinking that I might not be called to like just doing the job. I thought I was called to speaking. I thought I was called to inspiring more people. That's why I could relate to what you were speaking. And now everybody, your book, the Youre Enough, entitled The 5 Steps to Move from Struggle to Strength. This is actually a book that everybody should read because it describes your journey and your personal struggles and how you were able to overcome all of that. Now, your inspiration of writing this book coming from a struggling marriage to currently what you're in right now, to having such a lucrative business, and also being able to manage your time and having the pleasure of traveling around the world just for you to discover the world and as well as to inspire other people. Now, in our audience right now, we also have high performance leaders, corporate executives, and who have also been struggling currently. And I know you have some advice on how can they transition from their corporate job to what they want, what they're passionate about. Like, what was your turning point for you? Was it like on a Monday, hey, I'm just gonna be resigning from work because this is it, I'm just gonna be pursuing writing? Was it like that, or has it been years of struggling that you've also reflected on it, and like how did it go on you?
I had always wanted to like have my own private practice, mental health practice, but I always knew that I would have to have some other type of income, probably working for someone else. And that's a really good question, because I don't really know kind of how it happened. It just kind of happened. I think because I was in the midst of such turmoil in my personal life that I was just like looking for something. And, you know, I got offered a couple contract jobs. So, you know, working as a mental health therapist as a contractor, you still get to make your own hours and all of that. And that was more appealing to me. And with my book and my story, what I talk about is, you know, there's so many different times where we can feel like we're not enough, whether it be in relationships, career, health, and the 5 steps, because you had mentioned, you know, how do people visualize like what they would want out, you know, if they want to leave their corporate job. And the first step that I talk about in my book is discovering who you truly are. And what I love about the book is that we all love self-help books, but I don't know about you, but when I read a self-help book, I'll like highlight and write in it, but then I kind of put it aside, right? And I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool, you know? But I wanted to make this book more interactive for the reader. And so at the end of every chapter, I pose a question related to that chapter and space for them to journal. So like they have to answer these questions as it is about their life. And so, and again, I went through these steps. I had to rediscover who I was. I had to answer these questions and write about it and think about it. And then that led me to my second step, which is visualizing your passion and purpose. So it's really, sometimes people do just wake up and say, okay, I'm done for the day. Like, I'm done. I'm just going to go out on my own. But for most of us, we have to do this work of discovering who we truly are in order to create the passion and the purpose for our lives.
That's so true. Because for me, I'm also a fan of personal development. I've always been reading a lot of books. And I love if there are journal books. Like yours is a journal book, right? And well, after every chapter, well, you can write all your reflections or all your thoughts. And also there will be questions after every chapter. And that's something that everyone really would wish to have, especially those who are into personal development. Now, do you have early mentors in your career, or those who have been helping you in your transition when things weren't going so well as how you expect them to be?
Well, my friends, for sure. I would be lost without my tribe. I call them my strength tribe. They have been instrumental. Honestly, my own personal therapist, when you know, I was going through all of this trauma, she was very instrumental in helping me focus on what was important and, you know, leaving that past behind. And honestly, so many amazing entrepreneurs that I have met over the last 2 years who have taken me under their wing, who have provided such amazing information to me and training. Those are my mentors. Like, becoming an entrepreneur does not mean just sitting in your house. You have to get out there. You have to network. You have to go to events. You have to hold your own events. And so all of those things combined has been such a godsend to me.
That's true, because for me, networking is really important if you want to build your business, if you want to build your career, your personal life. And as they say, the biggest investment that you can have is your investment in yourself. So like what's going to happen in your life depends on who you are with. Like, you are the average of the 5 people you are always with. So it's amazing how much you have changed during those difficult times in your life, and how you were able to translate that using the book, and how much inspiration you've given to a lot of women, also to men who have been struggling right now with their life, and transition this into something that will be inspiring to others. Now, I believe you've written this book since last year, February, and you've released it. How long did it take you to write this book? Or is this something that you've been dreaming of since you were a kid, or that was just your goal before you turned 40?
Well, I had always had it on my bucket list to publish something by the time I was 40. I didn't know what it was. I never considered myself a writer. I actually have a learning disability, and I have an 8th grade reading level and a 9th grade math level. I have horrible grammar, spelling. My poor editor, like, she had so much work to do. But that didn't stop me, because I really didn't know what I was going to write, but the story of what I was going through happened. And it was like that nudging feeling was, this is your story. This is your time. You have to do this. And so I knew I wanted to do something with journal. I wanted to put in my expertise as a therapist. There's other exercises in the back of the book, that you can go and do on your own. I wanted it to be a journal self-help book. And I actually started writing it as just the 5 steps, because I actually started writing at the end of January. But then I walked away from my ex in the middle of February, and that's where I added my story. So, I started writing in February and finished it in May. And a lot of people ask me, like, how was the process of writing? And I say, I don't honestly even remember, because I was in the midst of my own trauma. So for me, it was part of my healing process. So I never sat down and said, oh my goodness, I got to sit down and write today. Right. So, like, it was just something that happened, and it just flowed, and it just, cause people are like, oh my goodness, you wrote a book in 3 months. And so I think what I tell new authors or people that want to write a book is that you have to find something you're passionate about writing, and it's not going to feel like a job or a task or a chore that you have to do.
Mm-hmm. I would like to agree, because a lot of writers have also been writing their books based on the values that they uphold true in their lives. Is this something that is also true to you? Like, you've been writing your book based on the values that you uphold in your life?
Yes, I love this question. Sorry, I feel like I'm getting too dark.
Okay.
So I'm going to turn on a light here. Sorry. I'm like, it's dark.
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, there we go.
There, awesome.
So actually, I love this question, because yes, I talk about this in the book. Values are so important. And when I was doing this part of rediscovering who I was, I realized that all the values that I had went out the window when I was in this relationship.
Yes.
So part of discovering myself was going through a values exercise. And I actually have the exercise in the back of the book that people can use. And I rediscovered my values of authenticity, integrity, and honesty. So I use my values as a coping skill. So sometimes, if I'm questioning a decision or a behavior or a thought, I will simply say to myself, how is this thought, behavior, whatever, honoring my value of authenticity, integrity, and honesty? And if it's not, then I obviously need to change the way I'm thinking. And so then I go into different types of positive self-talk, affirmations, visualization exercises. But those 3 questions, how does my behavior or my decisions honor my values, has been very instrumental for me.
I think it's just so amazing that you just started with reaffirming yourself that you are enough, and then you come from abundance of you being enough, and then writing this book telling people that this is what's going to happen if you always say that to yourself, if you will come from abundance. Because I think a lot of people right now have been struggling with self-assurance, with self-confidence, and I think this book is very important to a lot of people. I hope everybody's gonna read this one. Now, in your book, there's also that 5 steps from struggle to strength. Would you be able to discuss really briefly what are these 5 steps, so that we'd be able to have a glimpse of how the book would be able to help the audience?
Definitely. Well, I kind of touched on the first 2,
Yes.
which is step 1 is discovering your true self. Step 2 is visualizing your passion and purpose. Again, at the end of each chapter, I pose a question like the 5 questions that I had to ask myself when I was discovering who I truly was, is a question that's at the end of step 1. And then step 3 is probably one of my favorite steps, only because we do these skills every day. And the step is called grounding yourself. So, when we start rediscovering who we are and we start visualizing this new life for ourselves, our limiting self-beliefs can really take over. And, and I still struggle at times, that I'm like, I feel like I'm not enough, right? And so I use these grounding skills to bring myself back to say, okay, here's your thought that you're not good enough, and this is why you are good enough. And it's what we call reality testing, and we're cognitively restructuring the way that we think. And so step 3 talks a lot about grounding skills, and I offer a lot of different skills to try and to implement into your life to help combat those negative thoughts, because our negative thoughts will keep us stuck where we're at. Every decision, everything that we do is all controlled by our mind. And step 4 is called developing your strength plan. So it's great. We have this new idea of what we want to do, but how's it going to look? How are we going to manage our time? How are we going to, fit in our self-care? All of these things. And so what I do with my clients is I create what I call a strength plan with them. And it's like a time management schedule, but it includes like your self-care activities, your morning routine, when you're going to spend time with family and friends, financially, putting together a plan for that. So it combines everything together so you can continue to move every day towards your goal. And then the last step is strengthening your healthy habits. And the big word in this step is the word complacency. So a lot of us find we get complacent, right? So say, for example, it's the middle of February, right? So a lot of us made resolutions, and we find ourselves, a lot of people find themselves in the middle of February and March getting complacent and not following through with those goals. So they may miss a day at the gym, and then one day turns into 2, and then 2 turns into 2 weeks. And so what step 5 talks about is how to avoid becoming complacent. And granted, life happens, and so there's going to be days where we may not get to the things that we have, like, on our strength plan, and that's okay. But you don't want it to turn into 1 week, a month, anything like that. And so step 5 really helps you develop your strength plan even more so that you can stay on it for 6 months, a year, many years down the road.
That's true.
And so what I like to say too about the steps is, just because you go through all 5 steps doesn't mean that you're not going to go back to another step, right? So maybe you wanted to become a public speaker, and then you're doing all of these things, you're visualizing, and then you get on stage and you realize you hate it, right? So it's okay to go back to step 1. Or maybe you hit a bump in the road, life happens. Maybe, when you get off, the path and you're dealing with, anxiety, depression, overwhelming thoughts, you have to go back to step 3 or step 4. So I always like to put that in there, that just because you get through 1 through 5 doesn't mean that you're not going to go back and visit different steps. So that's the other reason I made it a journal, my book, so that people can go back and read what they wrote and use that as another coping tool to keep them focused on what they want.
That's true. Well, we actually I would like to agree, because we are undergoing different stages in our lives. Like we passed through something, we might be having some challenges along the way, but having us being guided with the 5 steps with your book, I think it's very important to reflect on it from time to time, because I think what's important there is that you keep a tune, you tune in to your life, and versus like really getting everything in just one row. You just have to like go back from this time, go back and then reflect on it based on what you have in the book. Now it's just so amazing that you have been traveling a lot to a lot of cities, promoting your book, and at the same time creating a public speaking career. Well, wait, which comes first, the writing or the speaking? And that's the speaking, right? A little bit from, yeah, a little bit
Yeah, I
from,
mean, having a book obviously puts you in a different category than
yes.
any regular speaker. But honestly, the writing, I mean, like I said, I did small little speaking gigs around. Like it was
Mhm.
nothing big. But the writing is what came first, and then the speaking came next. Like the Jenny McCarthy show and other TV shows and everything. Like I wouldn't have gotten on those shows if it wasn't for my book.
Nice. No, but if you get a chance to reset your life tomorrow and start all over again, what's the
Ooh.
first thing that you will do?
Wow. I've never been asked that question before. That's really hard to answer because, some people would say, oh, I wouldn't get married again, right?
Okay.
And if you would have asked me that question 4 years ago, I would have been like, I would never get married to that guy. But what I always say is every struggle that I've been through in my life has shaped me to the person that I am. I wouldn't have become a therapist if I hadn't gone through a rough childhood. I wouldn't have written this book or been on this podcast with you if I hadn't had this experience in my marriage.
Yes.
So I think I wouldn't redo any of the experiences in my life because it's given me this passion and this purpose to do what I'm doing.
Mhm.
But maybe, I don't know, like maybe I would have written a book earlier, or maybe I would have gotten into entrepreneurship earlier, because I kind of started late, but I should take that back. There's never a wrong time to become an entrepreneur, but, maybe like doing it in Michigan before doing it in California because it's so expensive here in California.
Uh,
Um, but, and I'm from Michigan. So I don't really have one specific thing. I'm going to have to think about that more for sure.
it's amazing how much you've adapted to your life and how much learnings you've actually gotten from your life that you would not want to, you're not regretting anything of it. Now,
Mhm.
I just like to quote you in what you said. You're enough just the way you are in whatever season you're in, and the more you celebrate and focus on that, the more you will live your strength. For me, that's a very powerful quote, and thank you for that. Now I'm down to my last two questions.
Okay.
Um, the second to the last question: when can you say that a writer is already a successful writer?
I'm sorry. Can you repeat that?
I mean, you're actually a best-selling author, number one best-selling author, and now I'm curious: when can you say that a writer is considered a successful writer?
Whenever they publish a book, I
Yeah.
think. I mean, honestly, like if it's on your bucket list to write a book, even if it becomes a bestseller or not, you
Mm-hmm.
are a success. If you write
Yes.
an article and you post it on your blog or it gets published somewhere, like you're a success. Anytime I feel like someone puts something out there that they wrote, even if it's on social media, like sometimes I'll write an article and I'll put it on my, LinkedIn page, or, I'll put it on my blog and everything. But I feel like you are a success when you are able to be authentic and write about something that you're truly passionate about. Doesn't have to be an award winner, but anything you put out there makes you a success.
That's right. That's true. And for me, I'd like to consider this as a huge opportunity to be able to talk with you right now, because you're just someone who exudes a lot of authenticity, a lot of enthusiasm whenever you speak about your book. So it's something that everyone's really wanted to be in the future. Now, last question would be, if you were to deliver your last speech, what message will you give to inspire the lives of the people you care?
Okay, so this is a good segment because I don't know if you know this because I
Yeah.
just launched it on Thursday.
Oh.
But if it was my last speech,
Mm-hmm.
um, I actually just launched what's called the I Am Enough movement.
Yes.
And so, and I can share more about that if you want me to, but like my last speech would be about this movement
Mm-hmm.
and what it means, why it started, and what people can do to inspire others to believe
Mm-hmm.
that they're enough. And that's, that goes into more details about the movement.
That's nice. Now, do you have programs and courses for those who want to move beyond their struggles, to those who would like to be coached by you? How can they actually reach you?
Yes, I have a lot of programs. I have a Become a Best-Selling Author program.
Mm-hmm.
I have the Youre Enough coaching program. You can work with me for a month, 3 months, 6 months. I
Mm-hmm.
do video like this, sessions or phone or face-to-face if people are in San Diego. I have a lot of ebooks that are out there and a webinar. But I think my biggest thing right now for people is this I Am Enough movement.
Yes.
Can I quick share about
Yeah,
it real
sure.
quick?
Yeah, sure. Yes,
Okay.
please. Yes,
So
please.
I just launched it, and your listeners can find me just at meganfenyoe.com. It's my website. Also on Facebook, Instagram, it's all just my name.
Mm-hmm.
But the I Am Enough movement, I created these cards. So on the front, if you can see it, it says I Am Enough.
Yes.
And on the back, it says because, and then there's a couple lines. And what I'm doing is I am sending these cards out for free anywhere around the world, around the country. You get 10 in a pack. They
Mm-hmm.
come in a little pack here. And it's a coping skill. So what I challenge people to do is to take some of the cards every day, write why you feel like you're enough on the back. Use that throughout the day as a way to remind yourself to combat those negative thoughts that you have.
Mm-hmm.
And also what I'm asking people to do is to take a selfie of themselves holding this card and uploading it to the Facebook community group, the I Am Enough movement community group, and also, putting it on Instagram. And on the back of the card, there's a scanner, so you can just scan it and it goes right to the Facebook page, all of this stuff. And then I also send you a thank you card with all of the details and instructions of the movement. So I just launched it last week. I've sent out probably over 300 cards.
Wow.
And it's absolutely free. The only thing I need is your address. So you can go to my website, meganfenyoe.com. There'll be a little pop-up. You click it, you put your address in, everything, and we'll send you these cards. So you get 10 in a pack. And what I want people to do is, give these to your family, your friends, to strangers. I go around San Diego and I give people this card and I ask them if I can take a picture of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's spreading good, vibes to people who may be struggling. And
Mm-hmm.
I want this movement to take off. That's why I give out 10 cards, keep as many as you want for yourself, but, leave them around your community, give them to coworkers, to family, friends, snap some pictures, and then post them on, your social media and, the I Am Enough movement page. So that's what my last speech would be to talk about the movement and to inspire people to get out there and start believing that they're enough, but also start inspiring others to believe that they're enough.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Me personally, I felt like I am enough. Like I need to get those cards.
Yes,
So
you
like,
have to just go to the website, sign up. I will send them out to you tomorrow.
yes, I hope everyone's gonna be visiting your website and talk to you. You also give free calls, right? Free
I
coaching.
do.
Yeah, and that would be great because I bet you have a lot of experiences about this I Am Enough movement. That's why you are taking the initiative. And it's something that everybody should have within themselves, the assurance that you're enough. And those cards are very helpful. And we'd really like to thank you for that. Now, I believe that will be all for this for
Okay.
this segment. And it's been a really awesome time with you, Megan. Thank you so much for being.
Thank you so much for having me. It was such an honor. I so appreciate it.
Thank you too. Have a good day.
Thank you. You too.
Have a good day. Bye bye.
Hey everyone, I hope you enjoyed the masterclass. Now I want to share a quick message about our great friends at Kaivyo. Kaivyo helps info product influencers and creators sell more courses and sell them faster. If you want your products, your funnel, your members area, and email follow-ups all in one place, then Kaivyo is the best place to be. Kaivyo is an all-in-one marketing technology to help you boost your profits with drag-and-drop funnel builders with 200 pages for instant setup and results. You'll also have advanced email automation and segmentation that you have to pay extra when you use other platforms. Plus, you can also create a full-featured membership site to publish your course to build your online business. And you can do all these things in Kaivyo without any tech overwhelm. They also have a free training on 5 steps to membership site success. Just click the link below and start making an impact as a global influencer.